Welcome, everybody, to the Social Dig, the greatest underrated show on the World Wide Web. I'm your host, Mr. Rob G. And as always, we're going to be digging into the topics that keep you talking and the talk that keeps you thinking. So come on in, kick your feet up, get an ice cold beverage, get ready to join the conversation. Definitely glad to see you all here at the Social Dig, the late night call-in show. Once again, as we get into it, it's going to be an awesome show tonight because this is the late night call-in show, which means you can call in at any time. And let me go ahead and get that information on stage. So that is going to be the call-in line, which is 856-843-3444 or 856-THE-DIGG. Calling from outside the United States, take a 001, put that right in front of the number, and that'll get you in to the show tonight. Also, we have the link. It's all posted in the chat right now, pinned at the top. You can click on the link. That'll bring you up on stage, and we can get into some good stuff tonight. Let's keep it on task tonight, guys. Let's keep it within the realm of spooky season, which is what we are in right now. This is spooky season. I want to thank everybody for coming on in tonight. Let me go ahead and see who's showing up. Race Fan with the gold, Kitty Catty Whack with the silver, Lil Camp 51 with the bronze. T-Bone is here. Deb from Sac is here. Lurking. Daniela, hey, how you doing? Cat's Tongue 96, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate you. Hillbilly Herb, appreciate you showing up. Paramarv, I see you out there. Paramarv. Who else do we have here? We have Robert White is here. Appreciate you showing on up, Robert. Doing the thing tonight here at Social Dig. And we appreciate all your support out there, guys. Lovey Love. Dr. Love is here. Dr. Love. To Mothman, hey, appreciate you. Going down the list here. Drew Banky is joining us, and he's in the back. He will be on stage here momentarily, guys. With that being said, you already know, membership's available. Become a Social Soldier today. You can do that anytime. No pressure. Please don't feel like it is. You just help support the show and make everything happen. And it's appreciated. We do have a long list of members here. This one's not the updated list, but I appreciate you all. We have the social shop as well, where you can get cool swag for the Social Dig. Get the hoodie. You can also get into some spooky stuff like we're going to get in tonight, right here on the Social Dig Late Night Call-In Show. We're just going to kind of jump right into it as well. Drew Banky got gifted a membership, which is awesome. Drew Banky is now a member. That is awesome stuff. Wes Decker in the building saying, Mr. Rob G, you are a machine. 3 shows in a row? Yes, Wes Decker. We got to get it in. It's for the people, right? It's for the people. Let's move the needle. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Some more of that as we get into it. Yes. And we're going to start this thing off. We're going to jump right into some spooky stuff because, like I said, it's that time of year. And why wouldn't we do that? So let me go ahead and prepare our first story of the night to kind of set the mood, just like we did last week. And we're going to do some more of that right now. So you guys have tuned into the right place, the Social Dig, where we get it on all the time. If you haven't subscribed, we'd appreciate it if you do that, because this is a great place to come. A lot of great people, if you can see in the chat, all these people you see here are great individuals. And we all have like mindsets, which makes it work. And we're going to continue to do stuff here. So getting into it, let me get the first little spooky tale out of the way as we up into. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. That's it. Nope. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the first tale. Because we are only 5 days away from home. So here we go. This story is called The Last Trick-or-Treater. If you can imagine that, The Last Trick-or-Treater. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, Halloween was usually a lively affair, but this year was different. By nightfall, a strange thick fog had rolled in, blanketing the town and muffling sounds. Streets that normally echoed with laughter and shouts of trick or treat were eerily silent. Many parents kept their kids home, spooked by the strange weather, but a few brave souls ventured out. Among them was Lucy, a 10-year-old who adored Halloween. Dressed as a witch, she dragged her older brother Ben with her, determined to make the most of the night. By the time they reached the far end of town, their bags were half full, and they decided to knock on one last door. It was a decrepit old house with vines twisting up its frame, looking like it hadn't been visited in years. Still, a dim light flickered inside. Bet they don't have any candy, Ben muttered. But Lucy knocked anyways. 3 loud raps. The door creaked open, but no one was there. Lucy stepped forward, peering inside. "Hello, trick or treat," she called out. A raspy voice replied from somewhere deep inside. "Come in. I have a special treat for you." Ben hesitated, but Lucy's curiosity won out as she stepped inside, pulling him along. The door slammed shut behind them, the click of the lock echoing ominously. They found themselves in a narrow hallway lined with dusty portraits of children, each one staring out with hauntingly empty eyes. They made their way further inside, the air thick with an earthly, decaying smell. Finally, they entered a large room at the back of the house. In the middle stood a tall, thin man with a grin. He wore an old-fashioned suit, and his skin was so pale it looked almost blue. "Happy Halloween," he said, extending a bony hand. His eyes gleamed in the flickering light, dark and bottomless. "I'm so glad you've come. Not many trick-or-treaters these days." Lucy tried to back away, but it felt like her feet were stuck. The man moved closer, extending a small black sack toward her. "Go on, take a treat," he whispered. Lucy reached out, feeling a pull she couldn't resist, and took a piece of candy from the bag. It was wrapped in dark paper, cold and heavy. She looked up, and for the briefest moment, saw herself reflected in the man's eyes. But it wasn't her. It was a hollow, empty-eyed vision of her, trapped in a place of darkness. A scream caught in her throat as she tried to pull Ben toward the door. But as they turned, the room changed. The walls closed in, and they found themselves back in the hallway, facing the portraits. Only now, the faces were different. Each child's face looked twisted with horror, their eyes wide, staring directly at them. And there, in the last frame, were portraits of Lucy and Ben, eyes hollow and mouth open in silent screams. The siblings turned to flee, but the hallway stretched on endlessly. No matter how fast they ran, the exit never seemed to get closer. Behind them, the sound of footsteps echoed, slow and deliberate, until a cold, bony hand clamped down on Lucy's shoulder. Years passed and the old house remained empty, a silent relic on the edge of town. Every Halloween, children whispered about Lucy and Ben, the last trick-or-treaters who vanished without a trace. But on Halloween night, through the dusty windows, you could sometimes swear they saw their faces. 2 pale children staring out from the inside, begging anyone passing by to hear their silent screams. And if you listen carefully, if you look carefully, you can hear the twisted voice of the tall man inside laughing softly, as if waiting for the next brave soul to knock on his door. That's how we're going to kick off. That's how we're going to kick off spooky season, the first story of the night. Hopefully there's more out there. Hopefully there's more out there. Thumbs up. Hey, the checking Rob is not on screen, correct? Just a jack-o'-lantern, that's correct. Pair of marbles. We got into the story. Fast hit me. I really like it. Thumbs up, T-Bone, Mr. Rob G. Let's go ahead and bring in somebody you guys all know. Drew, thank you. Drew, it's spooky season. We're getting into spooky tales here. We're setting the mood. Did you hear the scary story? What do you think about the creepy story? What do you think about it? Did it scare you? How do you feel about the creepy story?
It scared me, man. You know, I'm a scary dude. I don't know. I like scary stories. I like hearing things, you know. Hearing the paranormal.
This is paranormal season, and I don't want to paint it as a season, obviously, because paranormal is year round. The phenomena is year round. But we're in a season right now that focuses or highlights the baddies, we call them baddies, the evil elements of the phenomena, the ghouls, the goblins, the ghosts, the cryptids, the werewolves, the monsters under the bed, the monsters in the closet, all of the creepy things that we think about. And you know, I'm an adult, obviously, but I still kind of get a little spooked by certain things. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be the bravest guy. I'm not gonna say I'm the bravest guy, right?
Well, that's a loose term. Adulthood. That's a loose term. You know, that's open to interpretation. But I want to point out one thing. I had a hard time listening to the story because the soundtrack is straight killer, dude. I gotta say, the soundtrack, like, I'm here for the music, man.
Hey, shredding that guitar. He is shredding that guitar.
Yeah, but adulthood is a loose term, and you know, I'm a subscriber too. I don't know if I'm at 44. I don't know if I reached adulthood yet.
That's right. I can get with that. I can get with that idea. We have somebody who's joined us in the back that we're going to bring on stage, and I believe he's a new subscriber. First time I saw him in the chat was today, and we're going to welcome him on stage. And I'm just going to stop and say this. This gentleman has just come to the channel and is already on stage, whereas I know a lot of other people who have been here for a while and have not yet stepped on the stage. So bravo to this man for stepping in. And let me go ahead and bring him up for everybody, if I can get him up here with us. It is, I'm going to have to do it like this. I'm going to have to remove, and add.
Here we are.
As we get our guest joining us. Let me move this banner here.
Can't see his eyes. I don't trust him.
Yeah. His name is Robert White.
There
How are
he is.
you?
Howdy. Doing
Nice
good
to have
down here.
Nice to have you on stage, and you're joining us from
Queensland, Australia.
awesome stuff. Awesome.
Dude,
Nice to have you. Glad to
twinsies.
have you.
Yeah.
With triplets.
Triplets, yeah.
Triplets, dude.
So, Robert, in Australia, down under, do you celebrate Halloween out there? Is it
It's just recently come into effect, like about 10 years back, I guess it started up, because I'd come back from the States. I went into the States in 2005, came back in 2007, and it really hadn't picked up then. So it's only just really recently picked up. But yeah, people are really getting into it now. That there are places that have their streets done up with all the decorations on the houses, like all the different themes and stuff like that. one I saw last year was big spider webs everywhere that was glow in the dark. So they had the UV light on it, and it lit up the whole yard.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Drew. You gonna say something?
No, it's very cool. Yeah.
So
Do they sell it in stores? Like, dudes?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
Awesome.
A lot of places now doing it. I still wish we had a Spirit Halloween down here, but we don't.
I was going to say, are you indulging in the holiday? Do you dress up, or what do you do?
Yeah, we do down here because my wife's from over there in the US, so she's brought the culture with her for the boys, and I believe the girls do it too because she's had two girls from previous previous relations, and we've got 2 boys from me and her. So yeah, they tend to get into it. The eldest is getting done up as the plague doctor with the big nose thing, and the younger one, he was wanting to go as Iron Man this year. So
okay. I like that. Yeah, Iron Man. That's good. Nice, strong character. I like that. What do you? Let me ask you this. Let's start here. What is your favorite scary movie?
Oh, there's so many.
Give me top 3 for you.
Probably Nightmare on Elm Street.
Part 1 or
Part 1.
Yep.
What are the other ones? Candyman. And I know is I Know What You Did Last Summer considered a scary one?
Yeah, that would be considered that. Yeah. Okay. That's out the box. I like that. I Know What You Did Last Summer. That one's outside the box. And so Candyman, I didn't really think of Candyman, but that is the original one at least. I haven't seen it. The original one's definitely pretty scary. Anything where if you say something in the mirror and then something happens, that's scary. Bloody Mary. Say that again.
I said, hello, Sandra Heath. She's saying hi to me because I know her as well.
Okay. Hey, Sandra, thanks for joining us. Nice. Well, it's awesome that you are new to the channel and that you're hopping right on stage with us. That is awesome, man. And I think that's an inspiration for a lot of people out there who have been, a lot of people who feel for some reason, I guess, I don't know, scared to come up, or I don't know. But I appreciate you doing that because you're breaking the ice for a lot of people. Is there something, what is your, I know you obviously may have some sort of experience with the phenomena. Do you have something like an encounter that you had that can be considered kind of spooky or something along those lines?
I've been writing up a book with all the encounters that I have.
Okay.
I have been a paranormal investigator for the past 14 years now, and I've seen the aliens like Nikki was talking about this morning or this afternoon for you guys. I've encountered a lot of different things when I've been out investigating, so I've got a lot of different stories.
Okay. So let's do 2 things then. I would love, being that it sounds like you have extensive research with the phenomena, I would love to have you on the show that you saw earlier, to my experience with phenomena, if you wouldn't mind doing that. If you could email me at booksocialshow@gmail.com so we can set everything up, that would be awesome. But then if you could pull from one of those stories tonight and kind of take us to the moment you had your experience. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, the major one that I had, it was the 23rd of December, 1993, or was it two? No, I was 9 years old, so it was 1992, or 82, and I had just been visiting with a friend of mine across the way from my grandparents' house, and I had been playing with him, but he had been called to get ready to go with his grandparents down to the coast because we were only about half an hour drive from the coast. And because it's summer, the coast is the best place to be. And I was walking back across the road from his place, and I got to about a foot, maybe 2 feet from the curb, and I stopped like I hit a brick wall. And I heard in my ears, "Stop, go back, and tell him not to go." And I tried to move forward again, and I couldn't move. And again, I heard, "Stop, turn around, tell him not to go." And I eventually was able to move again, so I just kept walking, and I thought to myself, if I told him, no one would believe me because I'm only 9 years old. And later on that day, my mother got a phone call and came in and said that Adrian, that's the name of the friend, had been killed by a car at the causeway, which is where he had been. His brother and his grandparents were. He was crossing the road and the car hit him. So
wow. So okay. So that means that voice you heard.
It was either angels or something else telling me to go and warn him to not go.
Wow. That sounds, man, that reminds me of, who was that, Drew? That was something, you remember someone said the kid and he had passed away and they were still playing the kid. Who told that story? I can't remember. But that is eerie because we had a story similar to that where someone had an experience almost like that. So that thing, that's wild. What do you think, Drew?
That really fascinates me when those stories come up of people passing and not knowing they passed, and then they leave a voicemail or something like that, or something like that on a phone, something that can be proven that happened after they die. Those things are those things are really amazing me. Yeah, I was, and to expand on that, when that just happened, Rob, when did that happen? Just a couple weeks ago.
No, that was 1982.
No, so, I'm talking about when we were just come up in a conversation recently of a guest. Yeah.
That's where you get so many Robs in one place.
Exactly.
No, it come up in the interview, but I was thinking about a story like that. I was thinking about that exact subject matter, like how interesting it is, and then it come up that someone mentioned it. It's just weird, the universe really interests me. How it works.
Yeah.
And a little background, Rob, I had an encounter with shadow people, and I've shown it on the show before, and the clear outline definition of a shadow, no mistaking what it is. So it, for me, is proof that there is the other side, for one, and that it's right here with us. And so that's a weird thing. And for me, like when I hear a story like yours, I can feel the authenticity because I know that realm where they exist at is right here in front of us. So that is definitely, one for me to take home. I don't know, what does everybody think out there? Let me see some ones. Was that a great story on his encounter? Ones. We see some ones. And you're welcome to share anything else that you'd like to share with us. Really, this is really supposed to be time for me to kind of kick back and not have to talk as much, because I obviously did a 3-hour show.
You do talk a lot.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, you had this morning, this afternoon, now this one.
Yes.
Well, for here.
Feel free to share anything else that you would like to share, any experiences. But save some juicy bits for us when we do that show, though.
Yeah, say some. I went to get this futon. Sorry, I went to get this futon just a few days ago. Someone was like giving it away. So I was looking for extra futon for our tiny house because I think we're about to move that up near Crestone and put it on some people's land, and we're gonna like B&B it and stuff. Like, I think we're gonna way we have planned out in 10 months we're gonna be able. There's a donkey. But within 10 months, we're going to be able to get the money that we get into it back if we B&B it the right way. Anyways, it popped up a couple miles away. This person was giving away a free futon. So I messaged them. I'm like, hey, is this thing still available? They're like, yeah, as long as you promise come right away and come get it, I come get it. I was like, I'm on my way. So we get in the truck, drive over there, and it's perfect. You know, as soon as I get there, I see it's perfect, and we start loading it up, and I start talking to, it's a husband and wife. They live out in the middle of nowhere, out in the woods, and off grid. They got solar just like us and everything. So I'm already like vibing with their place, and the guy's wearing a Vietnam veteran hat. I was like, oh, thank you for your service, man. I was like, I'm a vet too, 2 combat tours. And we get to carrying the futon out, put it in the back of the truck. He's like, what do you do now? I was like, well, first off, you know, I'm like, medically retired. Got out in 2009, medically retired from the Army, and and got my disability and all that. And I'm an author as well. And he's like, oh, what kind of author are you? What kind of books you write about? I was like, well, about my spiritual experience. You know, I've had some spiritual epiphanies and sacred ceremonies, and I also had a near death in 2019. He's like, I had my near death in Vietnam. And I was like, it's pretty crazy when you come back, and you come back with that understanding, and everything's just so clear right when you come back, isn't it? He starts laughing. He's like, you had a real experience. I was like, I can tell you did too. And I was like, when I come back from my near-death experience, I laugh for 30 minutes straight. No one could talk to me. I couldn't make sense of anything. I just laughed because everyone's got stuff so messed up. Like the majority, the ones that are in the dark and everything. But just looking back, everything's hindsight. Hindsight's always 2020. But looking back, everything that led up to me meeting that guy, and when you have those meetings with people and you recognize that they're soul family or whatever, and it was one of those moments. Just like every second we were interacting with each other, there was tons of conversation that was going on in the background. I can't tell you exactly what was being said, but it was just like, holy shit, I found this post, to get this futon. I needed a futon, and we met because of the futon. But recognizing, a veteran going through a near death, I've seen so many similarities and stuff like that. And like I tell you all the time, either on the show, Rob, or in the background, when we talk in the background, I have set up something in the universe, like, lets me know every day that everything is in line, and everything is in line and it may not be spooky, but it's pretty amazing. I think it was worth sharing. So
yeah, awesome stuff. And it's weird that you talk about the near death experience, because we're gonna have Eugene Braxton on tomorrow, and we're gonna be talking near death experience on the After Hours show. So for anybody who doesn't know that I do the show over there, I also do a show at Spaced Out Radio Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11. We just left there tonight, and that's why we're here right now. But tomorrow night, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, we'll be doing near-death experience. Lucid dreams, we'll talk about that, which I know I talked about recently. I don't even remember what the guest was. That's weird, right? Do so many shows, it just all blends together. But we're going to be lucid dreaming, the astral travel. That was with Polyrodiby. Lucid Dreams, Astral Travel, and Near Death Experience tomorrow on Space Out Radio After Hours. So funny you brought that up, Drew. But with that being said, I can't think of anything spooky. I think last week we talked about, my experience with Freddy Krueger, right? And the whole Nightmare on Elm Street. That was why it's funny, Robert, you brought that up, because I was a kid. When I was a kid, the preview, and I'll tell the story again real quick, but I was watching the preview on TV. Nightmare on Elm Street had just come out. I was a small child. And my dad wanted to go see the movie, but I was so scared of the preview. I was like, no way. And so they were like, well, we're going to go. And they was like, well, you can stay home. And they were getting ready to go. And he was like, oh, but if Freddie knocks on the door, make sure you let him in to use the bathroom. And that just scared me to no end. I was like, what do I do? So I had to go. But Freddy Krueger Part 1 is probably one of the most, as far as in my childhood, him, Pinhead, and Michael Myers, Jason too. Those are probably the ones that scared me the most as a kid. How about you? Either one of you.
Like I said last week, Poltergeist. To this day, like I can't walk past one of them old TVs with the crispy backgrounds and stuff. They get sucked. The little girl got sucked in and trapped in there. Man, it's just.
Yeah, that lady was creepy.
Yeah.
So was the guy, the preacher guy.
See, you're talking about. I think that was part 2 or 3. Yeah, that guy right there. He was singing that song and walking in the rain, and oh yeah, he was scary. He was like, "Let me in, let me in."
What's that name of that one? It's
I can help you out with my strong hand.
That's a scary movie.
Yeah,
that did.
No, when I think it was Denzel. He was in a movie, and this demon basically jumps from person to person, and it's time is on my side. That's I've watched that movie maybe once or twice, and that song that just creeps me out. But as far as like old movies, Poltergeist is probably like one of the scariest. But yeah, there's just so many that I'm not really a scary movie person, buff or anything like that. But yeah, that's one that's pretty creepy. What do you think about that movie? Have you seen that one, Rob?
Which one again?
Where he's like the demon switching back, like jumping from
Fallen or something like that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies, actually. Very underrated. But I'll tell you, one of the series that used to scare me and probably still scares me today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm scared of certain things, to a certain extent. I mean, I don't ask why, I just am. But the old Twilight Zone. The music in that, if I'm watching that, I think I haven't watched it in years, but I think even if I watched it right now with all the lights out, I'd turn the light on. I'd have to do it. Another one that really creeped me out as a kid, and I know if I were to hear this today, I would for surely make sure lights are on. And I'm talking about, I'll be the guy that'll walk through the house and turn every light on. So I walk in the kitchen, light on. Walk in the hallway, light on. It's a trail of lights turning on as I walk where I'm going to, and that's just what I do. But that would be Tales from the Dark Side. With the theme music from the beginning of it and the voice. Oh my God, that is so scary to me, even to this day. Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt. Tales from
the Crypt. Tales from the Dark Side. He's like, but
I remember watching Twilight Zone as a young kid, like maybe 4, 5, 6 years old with my dad, and in our living room, there was a grandfather clock that was like non-operational. You know, it had been non-operational for ever since I could, my whole life. It never worked. And we was watching a ghost story, and it was like right at the climax on Unsolved Mysteries, and that son of a bitch started up, dude, and it ran for months. Nothing, no interaction to start it or anything, nothing, and it just started all of a sudden. And it started off with it was an old one that had a cuckoo clock that come out and everything. Like it's probably worth some money now. Like I don't even know where it's at now, but it had a cuckoo clock that come out of it and everything. And it started off with that cuckoo clock come out. It scared I remember it scared the living hell out of both me and my dad. My dad was probably in his 40s then, probably about my age. And we both ran out of the living room, and that thing ran. And I remember my dad stopping it. Like you could reach in and stop the pendulum from swinging back and forth.
Yep.
And it would start back up, and it went on for about a couple months, and before it just stopped working again.
I want to see if I can actually bring that up.
Story.
Let me see. Grandfather clocks creep me out, period, for whatever reason, because I think they're always in haunted houses. But also the thing that creeps me out are dolls, like creepy little dolls, the ones with the eyes.
Battery operated dolls. The ones that don't have the batteries and the battery operated dolls that talk, they're the ones that scare me.
Oh yeah.
I had that doll story last week. That doll, the Frozen doll.
Yep.
The Elsa doll that kept talking.
Yeah. The story you read.
Yeah.
I want to see. I'm trying to find some. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for this. Because I got in trouble for the cube thing. I got a spank on my head.
You guys hear about the cube that's headed towards Earth?
No, haven't heard of that.
There's a cube object that they're tracking. It's very large, and it's making its way towards Earth, and we're talking within the next couple months that it's supposed to make contact. But it's a cube,
next couple months.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. I haven't found that story. I just seen a post about it talking about a cube headed towards Earth. I haven't looked into it too deep, so I don't know exact time frame, but there's a cube object heading towards Earth.
Okay, I'm about to
not vetted.
Yeah, I'm gonna find that out. We're gonna look that up in just a second. I just want to let everybody know what I meant by this. So this is the theme. Let's pause that real quick. I just want to show this. Hopefully I don't get in trouble, but if so, I'll edit it out. You'll know because it'll be edited out after we're done here. But this is Tales from the Dark Side, the theming. Just so you can understand why I would still be scared of this and why I was scared as a child. This is, and please don't flag. This is so old that it shouldn't flag me, but we'll see. Here we go.
Man lives in the sunlit world of what he believes to be reality. But there is, unseen by most, an underworld, a place that is just as real, but not as brightly lit. A dark side.
Okay, you tell me as a kid, you could watch that and not be scared. That horrified me. Even though I liked the show, I used to love the show. But that opening theme music, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It is still creepy, even to this day, right now. I swear, if I was sitting in here with no lights, I would have to turn the light on. That is a creepy theme song. If you guys know of any others, please let me know. Twilight Zone, I don't think it is. Twilight Zone, I think it's Ronald Sterling, right? That guy, I don't know who that guy is, but he's real creepy. Almost as creepy as if you think about Unsolved Mysteries, Robert Stack. The Unsolved Mysteries thing, oh my God. Oh my God. You guys are free. Let me know. You guys, any creepy things that you could think of off the cuff? Anything that as a kid maybe creeped you out and might still be creepy today? No? Looking in the chat. Rod Sterling is the one. Night of the Living Dead. Yes, part one. The old one is definitely a scary one for me, for sure. Outer Limits opening theme. Outer Limits. Let me look that up. I don't know. I've never heard the Outer Limits opening theme. I probably have, but I just don't know what it is. Here, let me see. But Tales from the Dark Side for sure. The Outer Limits theme song. Once again, hopefully I don't get flagged, but I do want to hear it. 1963, The Outer Limits. Okay, let's see what this is. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what it sounds like. Excuse me. All right, let's check it out. Pause this real quick. All right, this is the Outer Limits theme. Let's see if it's creepy.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
Okay, I can see the creepy aspect there. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that was some good stuff. Good stuff. Whoever put that in the chat, that was some good stuff. Let's see. So here's what I'll do. Let me go ahead and I have a second story here as Drew does air guitar in the background, because that is a wicked guitar. I'm not gonna lie. But let me go ahead and bring up this other story here, because it's spooky season, right? We talk aliens a lot, and we will get into some of that talk, right? Paranormal. We'll get into some of that. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. Let's do something a little different. Let me just see how this story goes. Let me see if this is something. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's try this out. This one might be good. Let's check this out. Let's see. All right. All right, we're gonna give this a go. You ready? Let's go. This is called The Lantern Man. So this one was actually reading through it. It seems to be creepy. We'll see. In the rural town of Cold Hollow, there was a local legend told every Halloween. It was about the Lantern Man, a dark figure who wandered the woods holding a dim, flickering lantern. The story went that if you saw his light in the distance, you should never follow it, because those who did were never seen again. It was a tale that teenagers loved to challenge, daring each other to enter the woods at night. This Halloween, a group of friends, Sam, Lily, and Jake, decided they would be the ones to uncover the truth about the Lantern Man. They packed flashlights, extra batteries, and snacks, determined to stay out until they found him. At midnight, they gathered at the edge of the woods and pushed their way through the thick trees and undergrowth. The air grew colder as they walked, and a heavy silence settled around them. After what felt like hours of wandering, a faint, eerie glow appeared up ahead. "There it is," Sam whispered, his voice barely a breath. The others nodded, feeling both fear and excitement as they inched closer to the light. As they approached, the glow became more distinct. In the distance, they could make out a figure, a shadowy man holding a lantern, the lights swinging gently in the darkness. Suddenly, the figure began to move away, the lantern bobbing as he walked deeper into the woods. The friends hesitated, but their curiosity won out. They followed, staying just far enough back to avoid being seen. They moved quietly, careful to keep their footsteps light, but the man never looked back. Eventually, he led them to a clearing with an old, rotting cabin in the center. The Lantern Man entered, the light from his lantern flickering through the cracked windows. Lily shivered. "Maybe we should go back." But Sam shook his head. "We're this close. Let's see what he's doing." They crept up to the cabin, pressing their faces to the dirty glass. Inside, they saw the Lantern Man set his lantern on the floor, illuminating a collection of small wooden figures. Each one looked intricately carved and eerily lifelike. As he worked, he picked up a knife, slowly carving features onto a new figure. But what made them freeze was the resemblance of the figure to Sam. Sam stumbled back, gasping as his flashlight flickered off. Inside, the Lantern Man looked up as if he'd heard something. His lantern light went dark, and they could hear the creak of the door opening. They turned to run. The woods were darker than they remembered. Every path was unfamiliar. They stumbled blindly, the heavy thud of footsteps echoing behind them. Lily's flashlight went out next, followed by Jake's. All they could hear was the breathing of a figure behind them, slow and steady, like a shadow closing in. Suddenly, Sam tripped over something on the ground. As he struggled to his feet, he realized what he stumbled over. It was a small wooden figure lying in the leaves, a perfect likeness of Lily, down to her terrified expression. The last thing they saw was the Lantern Man's face emerging from the darkness. As he reached out, gently touched each of them on the forehead. Their vision dimmed, fading as if someone had blown out a candle. The next morning, their parents and townspeople searched the woods, but there was no trace of the three friends. Only that night, the townspeople noticed something new about the Lantern Man's story. They say if you go into the woods, you'll see him carrying more than one lantern now, each one containing a flickering, shadowy shape inside, a boy and a girl, frozen forever in the ghostly light, trapped in with him in the darkness, awaiting anyone who dare to wander into the Lantern Man's haunted woods. That is the story of the Lantern Man. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Hold on here. Remove this here. Oops. There we go. All right, another spooky story for the Lantern Man. Who wants to go see the Lantern Man and become a shadowy figure inside one of his lanterns? That's creepy and spooky. Who else has a story? Anybody out there calling for stories?
Well, I have one from down this way. It's the legend of Fisher's ghost.
Oh, there.
On the evening of June 17th, 1826, a man by the name of Frederick Fisher left his home in Campbelltown and was not seen again. On a night almost 4 months later, a wealthy and respectable Campbelltown farmer, John Farley, stumbled into a local hotel in a state of shock. He claimed he had seen the ghost of Frederick Fisher. The ghost, according to John Farley, had been sitting on the rail of a bridge and had pointed to a paddock down the creek that then faded away. The body of Fred Fisher was later discovered by police in the paddock where the ghost had pointed. Many local residents believe the ghost of Fred Fisher haunts Campbelltown Town Hall. The legend of Fred Fisher has captured the imagination of generations. The sequence of events leading up to the subsequent trial, the murder of Frederick Fisher, the appearance of his ghost, the arrest of 5 men, and the eventual hanging of one. Frederick George James Fisher was born August 28, 1792. By his early 20s, he was a shopkeeper, unmarried, but thought to be father of 2 children. Either innocently or deliberately, Fred Fisher obtained forged banknotes through his business, for which he was arrested and tried at the Surrey jail delivery on July 26, 1815, and sentenced to 14 years transportation to Australia. By 1822, Fred Fisher had served half his sentence and applied for a ticket of leave and permission to purchase property. Among other properties, Fred Fisher secured a farm at Campbelltown. His neighbour was a man named William George Worrell, known to be an honest and industrious man. In 1825, Fred Fisher and a local carpenter, William Brooker, had an argument over money, whereby Fisher pulled a knife. William Brooker was not badly hurt. However, Fred Fisher received a light prison sentence. Worried about his property, Fred Fisher gave George Worrell power of attorney during his imprisonment. Fisher served his sentence and returned to town a short time later. On the evening of June 17, 1826, Fred Fisher disappeared, and George Worrell announced he had sailed for England because he was concerned about a forgery charge recently made against him. 3 weeks later, after Fred Fisher's disappearance, George Worrell sold Fisher's horse and personal belongings, claiming Fred Fisher had sold them to him before he set sail. Several local townspeople became suspicious, and on September 17, 1826, George Worrell was arrested on suspicion of Fred Fisher's murder. Worrell claimed he had not murdered Fred Fisher, but that 4 other men had in fact committed the crime. All 4 men were then arrested. 1 month later, October 25th, 1826, 2 young boys were returning home across Fisher's farm and noticed bloodstains on a fence. On closer investigation, a lock of hair and a tooth were also found. A local constable searched the area to no avail and decided to call in an Aboriginal tracker from Liverpool. On testing the water from the puddles in the area, the tracker announced, "White fellows fat here." Fred Fisher's remains were found laying in a shallow grave on George Worrell's land. George Worrell sat for trial in a criminal court on February 2nd, 1827. He was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging on February 5th, 1827. On the scaffold, Worrell confessed he had murdered Fred Fisher by mistake, thinking him a horse in a wheat crop. However, this confession was never believed by the locals. It's thought George Worrell had assumed when he had been appointed Fred Fisher's agent, all Fred Fisher's property belonged to him. On Fisher's release from prison, George Worrell murdered him to fully obtain his property. What then of John Farley's ghost story? Why was it not used at the trial? Apparently, any tales of the supernatural were not permitted in a court of law and could not be used as evidence against the accused. Fred Fisher was buried in St. Peter's graveyard by his brother Henry. However, no headstone was ever erected. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome stuff. Wow, hold on, guys. We got Mr. Robert White joining us for the first time. Just freshly joined the channel. Comes on stage. Gives us an experience that was crazy. Then gives us a story for spooky season, guys. Give it up for Robert White.
And as a matter of fact, they still have a Fisher's Ghost Parade at Campbelltown each year. So,
hold on. Say that again, Robert.
Campbelltown, where the ghost story happened, they still hold a parade for Fred Fisher each year.
That's how I appreciate that contribution to the show tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Bring these stories, bring the heat, bring these stories. So I have somebody that wants to join the stage here who I see, and we're going to bring that person up and let's see what happens. We got Dr. Love V Love joining the stage. Love V Love.
Hey guys. I don't know. Is the audio okay?
You were sounding good. You sounded great.
Hey guys.
Hey, what did you think about Robert's story?
Well, I mean, he's a great storyteller. I'm glad he shared with us tonight.
Awesome.
I'm a little distracted right now. I've got a lot going on at home, but I'm sorry, guys. I'm just thought I'd call in real quick. I do have this one story I've been kind of wanting to get some people's opinion about.
Let's hear it.
And it's when I was a teenager. And granted, I was a metalhead, and, it was satanic panic, and my best friend had, dallied in some Satanism, but not Luciferianism, where, I'm not getting into all that. He may have done some stuff. His grandparents did end up intervening in some of that. But needless to say, he's telling me a story about how he conjured a demon one night. And he's telling me that what appears to him is this thing that's like about 3 foot, between 2 and 3 foot tall. He said it had kind of human features, but it was very thin, almost just like the skin was just on the bones. It had pointy ears, had very long arms, and it was naked. He didn't mention, genitalia or anything, but I think he told me his was red. Red. Yes, I think he told me his was red. But the reason I'm bringing it up is another friend of ours. I've always thought, are they fucking with me? Are they fucking with my head? Because we're sitting around, we're getting our smoke on, we're listening to some Metallica or Slayer or whatever, and we're telling these stories, and Mike's telling me this story. He saw a demon. And I mean, I'm telling you, I believed it. Okay. But also, I had a tinge of skepticism. Well, it was like months later, and a mutual friend, but she had just kind of met him, and I did not think that they had had any conversations. But that's why I started to wonder, had they told each other this story? But I had not shared that with her. And this was a girl I was hanging out with a lot. And here we are again, listening to our heavy metal and, hell, Satan, and, devil horns and shit, and not me necessarily. I was still, I was just intrigued by the aesthetic and the music, and I was interested in it, but I wasn't trying to, it scared me still too much, and I was raised in an apostolic church. So I was able to, I was taught how to rebuke the devil at 6 years old. So I believe in demons. So hearing this story from Mike scared me, actually. But then I heard it from Lee, and she said she was going home one night alone, and she said she was playing, I don't remember. It was a Metallica song probably, but she was listening to some heavy metal, just, flying down the road, going home. She looks up and she said, there's this thing hanging on her antenna. Okay, now I'm like, this is ridiculous, right? And she starts to tell me it was like about 2 foot tall, had human features, very skinny, just kind of wrinkly, just like skin kind of just hanging on the bones, long arms, pointy ears, no hair, all this other stuff. And that's where I get it confused, because I'm like, was Mike's red and hers was green? And it just sounds ridiculous to me. And I'm like, were y'all tripping? Because, I was like, did y'all drop some acid? Are y'all tripping? What are you serious? And they were dead serious. Well, it wasn't like very long after that, maybe that summer. And I got up one morning and we had this chest of drawers in the hallway. And I went to turn on the light and I looked down, and there was this little footprint that was about the size of like maybe a 6-month-old, but it was skinny and narrow and had little points on the toes. And the footprint was on a clean chest drawer, but the footprint was like this gooey, brown, kind of sticky, right? And I was not high. I was like morning probably, I was at home. I was a teenager. I was pretty straight edge at my house, but I was just like, that has always tripped me out. And I'm like, when you tell people this story, they're just going to think you were high and tripping out and stuff. And I'm like, but no, like this shit all was weird to me. I mean, and then you hear in our stories from experiencers who've dealt with fae or puckwudgies or whatever, or maybe demons or whatever, you hear them describe things and you're like, okay, well, obviously there's all kinds of entities out there, and who knows what Mike could have conjured. And I mean, I'm certainly not part of that satanic panic where I think music leads you to the devil, by no means, or anything like that. It was really just it was just a crazy time. But I mean, I've not had any more experiences with footprints, and I've not seen anything with my eyes like that. But I have seen things run past in my peripheral that are small, about 2 foot tall, but I can't make out their forms. It's just something flashing really fast. When it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, I'm just like immediately questioning, like, you're losing it. You're, like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Like, you need to get your eyes checked. But the more I hear stuff on SOR or here on the social dig, in the other places, who knows? I mean, who knows? Maybe I am crazy, and after a certain point at night, I might get a little buzz on. But I think I've seen some things, and I think some things. Once you've seen some things, and they know you're open to that, more and more will be revealed to you.
I can agree with that, and especially from that world. And you made me think of something, because they often talk about in the metal world that there are ritualistic things that happen and things that get summoned. Even people from that world will say that, and who knows if it's a reflection of that, or if it's like Nikki says, potentially the fae, or I saw puckwudgies as well out there as well. But if you're having physical things like a footprint that you can see clearly on the chest of drawer, then that for me would say there's something to that. We know for sure that there's some weird stuff going on in the world, and people are seeing a lot of different weird stuff. So who's to discount that? That information that you just gave here, I could see it as plausible. That little thing we saw walking down the driveway in Colorado that looks like
Yes.
that thing, right? And that, truthfully, that was
Yes.
real. I don't care what anybody says. That thing in that video was not a kid. It was something that wasn't human. And if that's possible, then what you just said is also possible.
And I thank you, Rob. I like to think like it was the 80s and 90s, my teen years, and so it was that satanic panic, and not we all, but those that liked metal, we loved our metal and the aesthetic and everything, just like the goth kids today. It doesn't mean you're going out and sacrificing animals and promising your firstborn to Satan so you can have a music career. It just means you like some good heavy riffs and double bass drums and shit like that. So but I did grow out of all that stuff, but I mean I had to always incorporate like my Christian upbringing, that I didn't believe that there were demons on this earth. And now that I've incorporated my belief in aliens or extraterrestrials or subterrestrials and in these other entities, non-human entities, I have to consider like what we thought were demons or a prophet or an angel or all kinds of things. Like I just can't separate all those things right now. It's kind of becoming
like a blur
of things together. I don't know if that's the right word actually, but
yeah,
it's like all coming together, and I'm just like trying to figure it out and just trying to be open to it,
Well, then that's a good thing, to be open to it, because we know now that things are possible that we didn't think could ever be possible. That's just that's if you could realize that there are things that we don't understand, then that opens everything up to be possible. And I know Drew Banke, with the whole DMT and all those things, there in ayahuasca, there are some people who claim to see beings while in that state. Is that correct, Drew?
you'll have to unmute yourself, Drew.
Oh, I thought Rob had been muted. Yeah, no, it's definite. It's pretty well known and accepted throughout the community, the medicine community, and talked about. And we was just talking about at the end of the other show, talking about Graham Hancock. He talks about it in his new series he just released, or his new season he just released of Ancient Apocalypse, and talks about how there's a theory that all cultures had some type of psychedelic plant or ceremony to connect to the divine, and that's basically, cutting it down really short. That's what it is. The psychedelics connect you back to the divine, and they believe that every single culture has some type of connection to it. You even talk about how at Chaco Canyon there was a old tobacco that was found that they used. They dated it back thousand plus years ago, and they're using this tobacco as a psychedelic gateway.
Conduit.
Yep. And Nikki, you just joined us. Thanks for coming in. Do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, with what Lovey Love is talking about, to me, what she was talking about sounded like the Fae. I've got quite a bit of experience with the Fae, and Robert knows a lot. We've been
hell yeah.
yeah. We've been on a lot of different teams together. So, but there's a story about the Fae that I've got, where I was coming off of a show. We were in the back room or the green room, as some people call it, and we were talking, and all of a sudden I look up And I'm like, I'm not seeing that. And the person on the other side of the US who's on video goes, Nikki, it's snowing in your bedroom. No, I wasn't in the bedroom at the time. I was in my living room. And I'm like, okay, so I am seeing that. And it was the Fae. They were, I got told that the Fae were literally protecting me from a piece of property that I was going to be on later in a few months. And they wanted to come in and completely cover me. Now, the thing is that I have seen Fae of all different kinds, and they're all different sizes. That was one of the things that somebody had asked in the chat when I said Fae, was that, wait a minute, can they be that big? Yes, they can. I have seen Fae that are 3 feet tall. I've seen Fae that are this big. They're not much more than a half an inch or even an inch tall. The Fae, the fairies, the ones that were covering me that one time to protect me, and it kind of freaked all of us out that were on video at the time. We were like, wait a minute, what is this? And then I started being asked, well, what are you feeling? And I'm like, well, I feel like I've got little crawly things all over me. Well, that's exactly what it was like when I went into the graveyard that they were protecting me from. And it went into the graveyard, or not the graveyard, the piece of property that they were really protecting me from. And there were wood nymphs on the property. They were about 2.5 feet tall, maybe 3, depending upon which ones. There were pretty much different sizes. There were also Fae that were the size of the fairies that I saw. There were Fae that were, in between the two sizes. So, but it was completely different on the cemetery property, and that cemetery property was filled with fairies. I mean, I walked into a fairy hole because I went to walk up to a tree, and the gardener had apparently mowed the lawn in such a way to where this hole, yes, you know real well about it. Yeah, and I literally went to walk up to the tree, and I went straight down into the hole, and I was covered head to toe in fairies. They were walking all over me, and I was freaking out. I was like, what are you? What? And so then we started having a conversation. So Fae can be any size, quite honestly, and they can be, you can actually see them. They're literally on how do I describe this? They're just out of our view. So if we are able to open up our pineal gland more and more, we will be able to see them. You will see them walking around.
Can you answer this for me? Because I'm new to the Fae fairy thing myself.
Yeah.
And you mentioned them as if they're different things. I thought they were one and the same. So
okay, so you've got wood nymphs that are in the category of Fae. Yeah, you're welcome, Lovey Love. So you've got wood nymphs, you've got fairy. It's all classification. Fae is a classification of numerous, vast amounts of races and species.
Okay.
It is a gigantic collect-all. And so
like you have the swamp creatures, you have the intelligent ones like the ones that Lovely Love was talking about. You have some people that believe that the Loch Ness Monster was part of the Fae as well. But
Sasquatch and Fae, FYI, well, you just reminded me, Robert, the Sasquatch work with the Fae. The Sasquatch, okay, now here's the difference. There's Sasquatch that and Robin is exactly right about them using their abilities. If a clan of Sasquatch is teaching their children about energy and about frequency, because not all clans do. I found that out the hard way. There are clans that don't want anything to do with those abilities. Why, I do not know. I don't understand that. But they are born with the ability. Why they're not teaching their infants and their children, I don't understand that, because it's a form of protection for them. Maybe that's something that Robin could answer for me sometime. But I do know that the ones that have the ability to use frequency and teach it in their clans, and from generation to generation, they work with the Fae. And the only reason why I found that out was because of that experience on that cemetery. Because as Robert knows, and there's another gentleman that I worked with that knows, that specific cemetery had a necromancer on it from the 1700s, and she basically, and this is in Washington State, there's a piece of property in Washington State, and when I went through years ago, 2018, 2019, I went through that area in Washington. It's tiny, tiny, tiny little town. And I kept getting drawn, and I couldn't figure out why. And we were headed to a different location, and my son is in the vehicle. He's sitting in front. He's talking to the driver, and I literally hear, was I sitting in front? No, I was sitting in front. I apologize. I rarely do that. But I was listening to the two of them talk, right? And the next thing I know, I hear, well, hello, Nikki, you're here. And I'm like, and I said my son's name. I said, did you just say something to me? I literally thought that was my very first real experience with talking to Sasquatch. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I look around and I hear, we're over here to your left. And I turn and I look, and there's this great big opening. Now, mind you, we're traveling through forest. We're on a main highway. We're traveling through a lot of forestry area, but coming in towards a waterway off to the right. And here's this large piece of property that the last time I'd been through a few years earlier was not deforested. And this one section was completely deforested. It had to have been, I know my acreage, so it was about 2.5 acres, thereabouts, 2 to maybe 3 acres of property that had been completely cut down. I mean, there was nothing but maybe 1 foot stumps on this property. And I look back as we're driving by, and I see a row of brown bodies, not registering that it's hair, but a row of brown bodies behind all the first row of trees. And I lost it. I remember getting to the it's the day I went to go see Susie Hansen when she was in the United States doing her tour. Had to have been 2019, excuse me. And so when I got there, I started asking people. I was like, the ones that I knew that had psychic abilities or mediumship abilities, I was asking them. I was like, did you talk to the Sasquatch that came through, that you drove by? What are you talking about? And the only person, Rob, talked to Lee. The only person that responded at the time was, oh yeah, that was kind of cool, wasn't it? And I was like, wait a minute, you heard them? So
You said Lee?
Yeah.
He was there?
He was on site at the conference that I was attending to, going to. And he was the only one out of everybody that responded that, yeah, he had heard. It was something to the effect of he had heard them. Or he had heard them, recognized them. He had said, anyway, it was what I had said. And so I'm just like, wow. I was so dumbfounded. So that was the beginning of that conference. But and that was about 1,000 feet. That location in the forest off that road was about 1,000 feet from this town that had the cemetery that I was so drawn to, and I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't until the following year that I went there, because on the was it the way back? It wasn't the way back from that one. There was another trip right after that to the same area, and it was during that second trip that I was like, we've got to stop at this cemetery. I don't know why. I just keep getting drawn there. And I walked through, and I had spirits who would not allow me to leave the cemetery grounds. They literally forced my feet to stop moving. And they were crying out for help. And because they were crying out for help, I was like, what the hell is going on here? And that was when I started finding out about this necromancer and how she had trapped a lot of souls, how she had done it, and it was extremely wicked. And that was, it took about another year for me to get back over there. And that was when I stepped into the hole and covered in fairies. And it was shortly after that that we cleared, and it was Robert had my back from where he was at, and I had somebody else with me, that was on video with me, and the two of us, but Robert wasn't on video, but he was watching from Australia.
That's
I don't
right.
know how else to say it. And
Australian.
yeah, well, you were an astral, if I remember right.
Australian, yeah.
Yeah, and it really, I'll tell you in just a minute, Love Be Love. It's very well known, actually, now. But basically, it was quite the ordeal. We had a monster, which I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it was brought about by this necromancer who had lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, a lot of lifetimes of being a hardcore necromancer. She did everything. I'd never come across anything like it in my life. And you want to talk about scary stuff? I've never ever anticipated seeing what evil actually does to a soul if they ever got a hold of a living soul. So when these souls were being removed from the form of evil, you want to talk about scary? I saw holes and shreds and rips and tears in these people. These spirits were no longer in human form. They were in energy form, in their original, in their original soul form, because they could not maintain their soul could not maintain the human essence anymore, and they were literally fighting for their lives. It was the creepiest one of three of the creepiest things I've ever experienced in my life.
So with that being said, necromancer, because a lot of people like in the field, people might know these terms. If you could explain what that is, and then let's hear one of those other spooky things that you're talking about, scary experiences. Does that fit?
Okay. Well, we pulled 50. The reason why I'm talking about it is because of the Sasquatch and the Fae. I pulled, me and this other person pulled over 50 souls. We rescued over 50 souls. And I crossed over 50 souls to Source. And I had, and we had sailors, seamen, SEAMAN, from the 1700s. Well, I did it that way because, Robert, stop it. I said it that way because of the fact these are men from the 1700s who spoke very, very differently, and who I had to basically talk to like they were children, because of the fact that they didn't understand that they were in a year beyond 2000. They had no comprehension of it, and they didn't understand. And so I had all faiths and religions coming and asking me, is it okay? I am Jewish. I am Muslim. I am this. I am that. If I cross over, will I go to what I believe? And I was like, yes. I had angels. We had angels surrounding. Okay, I'm getting chills. We had angels surrounding us. We had angels on that property. Matter of fact, there are 4 sentinel. Well, there used to be a lot more sentinels. Sentinel angels on that property. Because once you remove evil, I found out it can take over 1,000 years before evil will they will continue to this is what the angels told me, that they will continue to try to go in and hammer on that property as much as they possibly can. It is because of that incident that I found out that I was pulling not just human souls out of there, I was pulling human souls, fae souls, Sasquatch souls. There was something else. What am I missing? There's something else. We had fae, human, Sasquatch. Fae, human, Sasquatch. I'm missing one. Anyway, and I didn't know that because of that incident, I got told that the fae were working with the Sasquatch, the local Sasquatch clan, to protect that property because it had been a necromancer's domain for so many years. And they told me that because of who my soul was, long before it ever carnated into being human, that I was the specific person for the job. I lost my shit when I heard that. I was like, excuse me? What do you mean? And it was because of that experience that I started finding out about exactly who and what my soul used to be, and who it used to be, and how it used to do things. And it just I really freaked me out. So regarding that's how the Sasquatch and the Fae are related. When there is a problem and you've got Sasquatch who have those abilities, they will go in and try to protect. Unfortunately, their protection got them killed. And it got their souls into this situation to where it was literally slowly killing them. And so I now understand a lot more. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So the other scary stories, one involves and Robert just left, so I'll wait until he comes back. So I'll go on to the next one, because he was heavily involved in the other one I was going to talk about. We pulled 33. It's about pulling 33 wannabe demons off of a human person soul. It was pretty mind-bending. Okay. And I literally just forgot the other one. I can't believe it. Brain fart. I can't believe it. I just lost the other one. That'll pop back up in a minute. Anyway, so yeah, I mean it. Oh, you asked. Love You Love asked where this was at. Port Gamble. There's a cemetery. There's a very famous haunted house in Port Gamble. Oh, bugger to beans. I gotta go look it up because now I can't think of the name of it. 1 second here. Anyway, in Port Gamble, there's a very famous haunted house. And the woman in that haunted house cannot stand me. I don't like her. She's a bitch. Port Gamble house. It's not a guest house. It is considered one of the most haunted houses. it's the Williams. If you look up Port Gamble and the most haunted house in Washington, Walker Ames, there we go. It's called the Walker Ames House. And it is quite the lovely little house. It is a beautiful house, don't get me wrong, but there is a spirit there who I got told you got to be careful with, and I found out why. Well, yeah, she was keeping children, let's put it that way. Where are you, StreamYard? There we go. For some reason, Port Gamble, because when I went to talk to, yeah, thank you. That's the house. And she likes to be up in the very top, one of the very top windows. It's not that specific window at the very top. It's on the other side, if I remember right. Anyway, she, really nasty royal bitch, in my opinion. But when I talked to the people, oh, hang on a minute, I see chat. So when I went to talk to the librarian of Port Gamble, essentially the town librarians, historians, they didn't have any information about the 2 children ghosts who were there. I got asked to take a look at this house by a paranormal team in Washington State. They found out about me because of some organization that I was with, and they said, can you take a look? And I'm like, yeah. Well, the next thing I know, I'm over there, not in astral, I'm over there in higher consciousness. Sorry, couldn't think of what it was called. I'm over there in higher consciousness, and while I'm in higher consciousness, I'm seeing claw marks on the inside of a closet door, and on part of a closet door jamb on the inside, like somebody's trying to claw, literally use their nails and shred wood by clawing their way out of the door. And so I tell the guy that I'm in Messenger with, I'm like I tell him I'm looking at it now. Why are there claw marks? Why are there claw marks on the door? On the inside of the door? Why are there... I just start asking all these questions because I'm like, I want to know. And then all of a sudden I start having incredible psychic vision, one after another, and then I realize that I am being led by the spirit of a little boy who's not more than 7-8 years old. I keep wanting to say he's 9, but he's not. He was at least 7 or 8. And basically somebody the other thing is that the guy that I was talking to via Messenger, Facebook Messenger, was telling me that, hey, I will make sure that we talk to our guy and find out if there are claw marks. And he gets back to me and he said, oh my God, how did you know that? There are claw marks. We found claw marks on the door jamb. They're not on the door, but they're on the door jamb. I'm like, yeah, they're probably going to be hidden. And so what I started seeing was this child, this little boy, curled up in a ball, rocking back and forth like this. He had his knees wrapped around. He had his knees up to his chest, and his arms wrapped around his knees, and he's just rocking back and forth. And every time he rocks back, he hits and feels the mink coats and all the fur coats that are in the closet, and they are covered with perfume. So he is doused in perfume, and which meant that I was doused in perfume. And anybody who knows me well knows that I am extremely sensitive to smells. I have an extremely heightened sense of smell and taste. And in the process of this, I end up seeing everything that this woman, this old woman that I just, you find a spirit that just tortures the soul of a child. I just want to go after him. I am Mama Bear when it comes to children. And in a great deal. I'm really not good about it. I'm like, cool your jets, Nikki. Come on, calm down. Well, this was very hard for me to calm down. So this child attached himself to me. He glommed on to my soul cord. I actually had to ask Robert, and Robert can confirm this. I said, and this was like a week later, I asked him, I said, I feel like I've got a male ET pregnancy. And because he's known as Mr. Crystals to some people, and he's also known as Mr. MRI, the human MRI, I asked him, I said, I need you to check me. Am I ET pregnant? Because I swear to God, I've got I can feel a male, but I can't tell if it's an ET baby. I feel like I've got twins. And he took a look at me from across the pond, so to speak, and he's like, I hate to tell you this. You've got a little boy attached to you. And I'm like, thank you. At least I've got validation. And so basically, and this boy, he was terrified of this woman. He saw a way out. And so I never got contacted again because I crossed the little boy over. I was like, and he was terrified. He was afraid of adults, but for whatever reason, he saw my light when I went there. And I didn't even know a ghost or a spirit could attach in higher consciousness. I knew it could be done in astral, but I had no idea it could be done in higher consciousness. And he followed me right back to my house in higher consciousness. He just glommed on, and I was like, I swear to God, I'm ET pregnant. And Roberts was like, nope, but you definitely got an attachment. Because I felt like I was pregnant with twins.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because his soul was heavy. It was heavy with the weight of being tortured and evil and all this crap. And this woman is not the woman who's registered as the ghost in that house. She and I don't like each other. So when I went back this last year to that property, and I think there's a picture of me on my channel where I've got this great big hat on. Well, that's the picture from that's the picture from the day that I went there and talked to the librarian, at one of them, because there's two for the town. And I look up and she's looking at me and she's shaking her fist like this. And I'm like, bitch, don't start. I will remove you. I'm like, don't F with me. After what you did to a child, there's no way in hell I will go after your ass. And I made a vow to myself that I wouldn't do that so that she could stay in the haunted house of Washington State. So, but yeah, to torture a little boy, and in real life, that's where she put him. She put him there to control him, and he was terrified of the dark. So here this woman is, and they don't have any stories of her. They don't have any stories of that specific woman. They have stories of a different woman with a young teenage girl for that house. And when I told the story to the librarian, she goes, "You got to come back and tell this to the other one, to the other librarian." I'm like, "Well, I can do that." And I haven't contacted them yet. Matter of fact, she was so enthusiastic about what I told her. She gave me a free book on the history of the town and everything, and I could name different people just by not name them. I could describe them to a letter, and I'd never seen pictures of them before. And she starts showing me pictures out of this book. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's the guy. This guy was doing this. He was attached to this woman. They're not supposed to know each other. There's something going on there." And for whatever reason, it just all, with what she knew of the town's history, it just all jived. So it's fascinating to me how all of these things come about, and how different things are different things on the other side can be very, very different. And some of them can be quite frightening. Robert, Rob, you had asked me to tell you more. Since Robert's back, sorry, I don't know why that's goofing me up, but since Robert's back, he and I were part of a 5-person team that pulled 33 wannabe demons, off of a person we knew. And you talk about scary stuff, things that I've never seen before. I mean, it was appalling to every single one of us that were on that team.
And when you say pulling demons, what does that mean exactly?
Well, go ahead.
Grabbing and yanking. And then throwing them to the puppies.
We had, well, yeah, because of the situation at the cemetery, I unexpectedly had the attention of a lot of hierarchy beings on the other side, including some demons that are classified as demons, but that are not necessarily evil. I don't know how else to explain that. And one of them said, "If you ever need dogs to chew things up for you, let me know." Well, during this one incident, I said, "Hey, I'm putting this out to the other side. Can we borrow the puppy dogs?" Well, little did I know, these are not little puppy dogs. These are bigger than 5 feet tall, honey. They look like a bear without fur. So there are some bears that lose all of their fur for skin reasons, for really diseased skin and stuff, and they can't grow hair. And every once in a while, you'll find a picture of a hairless bear, and that is the closest thing that I can describe to what these, and I call them demon dogs because I don't know what else to call them. They're on loan, and my God, do they love me, because they love me because I feed them. I get permission from the other side, and specifically, I get permission from Source himself. If there is a real severe problem with something that is so horrifically detrimental to every aspect, then I will ask and say, "Hey, is this," because if I do something like that, that could be on my soul for the rest of my soul's life. I don't want that kind of responsibility, to be blunt. And so basically, during the pulling off of these 33 wannabe demons to get to the main head honcho demon, that was at the very bottom of the frickin' pile, each one of these, we started off with 3 demon dogs. We ended up with 5. And we had an entire crew of the hierarchy branch watching us. And it was like it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It was like we were in a coliseum, like at the bottom of a Roman coliseum where you've got stands and stuff. And that's what I kept seeing, was somebody was showing me they're watching you in such a way. It's like they're watching you from on high, so high, in fact, that it's like they're watching you as if you're like they're in stands in a coliseum, like a Roman coliseum. You're at the bottom, but you're on Earth, and they're seeing it happen. We had hundreds upon hundreds of hierarchies watching this, and angels surrounding all of us, surrounding the property that we were working on. All of us were at different countries, different states, all to come together working on this one individual. And that's where this one specific individual was getting all of their psychic abilities from, or almost all their psychic abilities was from these multiple demons. And basically the one main, I can't classify him as a true demon, because I've experienced only one true demon in my life, and the rest of them are wannabes. And this one was going after a soul, and he was bringing his lower downs to surround him in every way possible. I didn't even know that was possible. It was mind-bending. And when we were pulling them off, we had Archangel Michael with us. We had all of these angels that were in battle, that were used to battling, giving us different things that we could use. And somehow we just knew how to use them. And so when we say pulling demons off, it's using these devices that we were given, that were manifested. I don't know how else to say it. It sounds so bizarre to even talk about this, but it was truly frightening to see everything that was collected on the property, because these wannabe demons were ordering this person to collect things in a specific way. You want to talk about necromancy? Necromancy deals with the dead, collecting items from, say, for example, Marie Laveau. As many items from Marie's collection being sold off, buying everything that you can get your hands on, very specific things to do damage. And this person was using a lot of necromancy things. So you're dealing with, I keep calling it Santana, Robert. It's not Santana. Not Sangria. Not Santiago. Santeria. Thank you.
Santeria.
Thank you, love. Santeria. So you're dealing with a combination of Santeria and necromancy and voodoo, and I mean, you're collecting all of it, and forms of witchcraft in so many different fashions and forms into this basically this collection, and you're doing not good things. And those not good things can be anything from manifestation, which manifestation can be fantastic. If done right, it can be absolutely phenomenal. But the things and the way that they were going about doing it was detrimental. Like stealing, which I didn't even know, I've learned a lot in the last number of years, stealing a person's abilities in different ways, and turning around and mimicking them and using them. So every person that one person came in contact, one of the demons was figuring out how to steal. It's like stealing a form of essence from another person. Didn't even know that could be done, but it was being done. We witnessed it, and the things that were on the property were like, in Robert, what is the name of that movie? Pirates of the Caribbean. You got the dead man's chest, you got an actual chest, that's what it was like on the property. We went through piece by piece, turning over rocks, lifting up, oh, there's something here, Nikki. Well, you're going to have to deal with it because I got another demon that's hiding and I got to get to it. Well, as the demons are being pulled out, somebody else is on the property looking at and demons being taken out with great force. I can tell you, we were all wiped out after this, and literally being thrown to the demon dogs. Well, the demon dogs chew up evil. It's the only way you can kill them. They chew them up. They either re-spit them out, and they're reformed, and they're caught again and re-chewed. It's like a doggy's permanent chew toy. They'll chew them up, digest them. They don't poop them out. They barf them back up, and they chew them again. And it's a form of permanent torture for those specific demons. And the only way they can be done, well, some people call them hellhounds. I call them demon dogs. I don't know what else to call them. And then there are ones to where if they do get chewed up and it's permanent, it goes right through them, and it's so if I've got evil to go after, I ask the other side, can I ask Source himself, can I use the demon dogs on this? And that's the reason why the demon dogs love me so much, is because I will feed them. I mean, Robert has seen them. They'll come right up to me. And they're huge. Their head is just gigantic. Like I've said, I've never, it's some of the craziest stuff, and to talk about it, I don't talk about it very often, but yeah, I mean, they're just gigantic. They're taller than 5 feet. Their backs are taller than 5 feet. So their heads are just enormous. And they like a good chew toy. And that's permanent torture. I'm like, okay, this MFer just took out and tried to deal with a human soul. And he's been doing that all of his life. Let's give him some payback with a little bit of his own torture. And so I'll call the demon, and I lovingly call them demon dogs, and they're like puppies to me, and that's how they act to me. It sounds absolutely stark raving crazy, but it's it's really intense. And so I come with some pretty awesome toys. If I have to go on to a piece of property and higher consciousness, and I go in with some pretty incredible protection and some backup that is, Robert is really good as backup, and there's a number of other people that I would trust implicitly with my life, and he's one of them, because he's had my back for a number of years now when I've gone on to different property, and it's like, I just need somebody on my 6. That's basically what I need. And he's like, I got your back. And we'll go in and to a situation, and if it's me dealing with the main issue of it, he's got my back. He's watching so that no other demon or no other wannabe or no other evil or nasty version of ET is coming at me. And there have been times where I have had different things coming at me going, no, you're not going to do this, Nikki. And I'm like, care to make a bet? You try not having God on your side. You try not having the angels on your side, and you're doing this. No. So you talk scary stuff. Scary stuff is witnessing souls where they have holes in them, or they're shredded, or they look like a ripped up flag that has been waving and flapping in the breeze so long that it's threadbare. I've never seen anything like it. It is beyond frightening. You want to talk about terror? That's real terror to me. Not a lot scares me anymore. Not a lot scares me anymore because I've witnessed certain things, and necromancy is essentially dealing with dead body bones, whether it's animal bones or human bones. It's doing blood rites and blood sacrifices and blood rituals and all sorts of, it's extremely dark, nefarious, wicked, insidious things. And it's something that our soul is not supposed to do. And hello, I will openly admit 2 of my lifetimes, over 1,000 years ago, was a necromancer. And I chose not to do it. And it took me years and years of suffering to come out of that, in different lifetimes. Generational. I don't know how you want to say that. But yeah, it's wicked. And to come across people that are actually doing it now, it's appalling, because there's a new version that people are going, well, how do you know about necromancy? Because I'll make a comment of somebody saying, oh, necromancy isn't that, it's this. And I'm like, lady, you don't know the half of it. Because then I'll start immediately feeling they're playing. And necromancy has become this really positive, enlightened thing. And I'm like, you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, don't even begin. Don't, because this leads into a whole level that is truly terrifying stuff.
Yeah. That sounds scary. It sounds like you're
not mess with Nikki, guys.
No,
lady. You heard her.
Like, what the hell did
get a blankie?
She's gonna help relieve. She's gonna help take some demons off of me one day, maybe.
Well,
you never know.
You just came out of nowhere with that lovey love. That was really creepy and unexpected, but it was actually right awesome. On time. It was right on time, truthfully.
It was good timing.
Yeah, you're good. So here's yeah. Go ahead.
I love hearing Nikki talk, and I miss her lives a lot because I'm periodic about getting on here. And sometimes late, I might miss something, but yeah, I love her lives too.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
And we have this is my 3rd show today.
I know.
Yeah, that's why I figured it was okay to talk as much.
Yeah, no, and it was fine because I definitely got a break for sure. We're hitting the 2-hour mark right now.
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. We still have this week. We have the Halloween Spooktacular coming up on what is that, Wednesday, the day before Halloween. So we're gonna do something that day. So I would love to get together on something. I want to theme it because here's the thing. I have to do that. And then on Thursday, I'm doing the actual Halloween show at Space Out Radio. So I still have to figure something out for that, some sort of theme to go with. So let's congregate again here for the Halloween Spooktacular and come with your A game. Just come and bring some real spooky stuff to the show, and we'll just make it all about that. So I don't know if you wouldn't mind coming back to join me on Wednesday.
What time?
5 p.m. Pacific.
5. Okay.
Yeah, we want to take the audience there, and we really want everybody to be in that really spooky mood. So I'm gonna think of some good stuff to do. You guys bring your A game, and then we'll make an awesome show.
Sounds like a plan. What about because I know Robert's got more.
Yeah, so Robert, you're new to the channel. We appreciate you showing up here, and you're more than welcome to join us as you bravely get up here and delivered a spooky story, and on the first day. Whereas we have people here for many months who still haven't got the bravery to step up yet and speak about it.
Oh yeah,
So,
there's a lot of people.
yeah, and I know they have things to say, and I know they have stories to tell, and hopefully one of them also get the courage to come on up on Halloween. Just bring a scary story, just even if it's something your parents told you. It doesn't matter. Just come up and say something on stage. I would love to hear from the names I see in the chat, but never hear from. You know what I mean? And it's awesome that Lovey Love actually stood back up, because you haven't been on here for at least 6 to 8 months or something like that, Lovey Love. So I appreciate you at least coming in. Last time you showed your face. You don't have to do that tonight, obviously, but it's cool hearing your voice again with your little southern twang. And you know, everybody's commenting about that in the audience as well.
God, yeah. I was like, they may need their closed captions on. I know how I am when I'm listening to Irish accents, you know. But I love Australian accents. I was loving that. We just appreciate, you know. But yeah, T-Bone brought up a song that's by Petey Pablo, and I cannot sing, but he's challenging me to sing it because it's about where I come from, North Carolina. So I wish I had music to back it up. You want to cue some music?
I saw that. You might get his copyright struck, though.
Oh, then we can't do it.
Yeah, Petey Pablo.
It's North Carolina, come on and raise up.
That's
Take
right.
your shirt off.
Throw it in the air, as we
Twist
say.
it around your head like a helicopter.
Exactly.
But that's not a copyright infringement. That is just stating the lyrics of a song that we love.
I love it in the way you just delivered it. I love you the way you just delivered it, right?
But no, I would sing it, but I want you to have some back. We're going to do it at karaoke when we get together in North Carolina. All the fam will come out. It's probably not the mountains now, sadly.
We'll make that a thing. We'll have to hook something up. And also, I'm setting up a Discord too. So on Discord, we probably could get away with that type of stuff. So I'm gonna set up a Discord where we can actually go get together, maybe watch some movies. And maybe I'll do that this week. Maybe we go watch a spooky, scary movie through Discord, and I'm gonna set that up. So I'll do the logistics, and then I'll let everybody know how we're gonna do it. Maybe tomorrow. So tomorrow during the show, or maybe we'll do a quick live over here after tomorrow's show, and if I have the details. But it'll be a place where we can get together. It's not on YouTube.
Cryptid
through
karaoke.
Discord, and we can do all of that over there because there's no monitors or things of that nature that would flag us. So we'll do that. And with that being said, I'm gonna leave the show off with one more scary story, guys. So you guys can kick back here on stage as I do it, or you can go ahead and hop in the chat. Either way, but I'll put you guys on mute while I deliver this story. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Last story of the night here. Spooky story to end off spooky season, at least tonight. All right, this one is going to be called The Scarecrow's Last Halloween. Right? So this is how we're going to do it. In the small farming town of Hollow Ridge, there was a yearly Halloween tradition no one dared to skip. Every October, as the leaves turned crisp and golden, each family in town made their own scarecrow and set it up in the town square on Halloween night. By morning, the scarecrows would be gone. It was believed that Old Tom, the spirit of a long-dead farmer who had protected the town's crops a century ago, would claim them. Some said Old Tom took the scarecrows to keep away evil spirits, while others claimed it was simply a local prank. This Halloween, 13-year-old Ethan decided he was too old for spooky stories. He was skeptical of the Old Tom legend, chalking it up to superstitions to keep kids out of trouble. Determined to prove the story wrong, Ethan planned to stay in the square all night and catch whoever was taking the scarecrows. He snuck out of his house at midnight, making his way to the town square, where rows of scarecrows loomed in the moonlight, each one strange and unsettling in its own way. Their button eyes stared blankly, and their stitched grins seemed almost alive in the shadows. Ethan hid behind one of the larger scarecrows, his flashlight off, watching and waiting. The square was silent except for the occasional rustling of straw in the chilly breeze. Hours passed, and Ethan began to feel foolish. He was about to leave when a strange sound caught his attention. The shuffle of footsteps dragged across gravel. In the moonlight, he saw it. A tall, gaunt figure moved through the square, his face obscured by shadows. His limbs were long and twisted, his clothes tattered and dirt-stained. Ethan's heart hammered as he realized this was no prank. The figure paused before each scarecrow, touching them gently with the bony, weathered hand. Then, with a sickening sound, he lifted each scarecrow off the ground, the straw figures clinging to him as if drawn by invisible threads. Ethan held his breath, too scared to move, but the figure suddenly stopped, his eyes turning straight towards him. "Come now, lad," he rasped, his voice like wind through dead leaves. "The harvest has need of you." Ethan scrambled backwards, but the scarecrow he'd been hiding behind suddenly wrapped its straw-stuffed arms around him, holding him tight. One by one, the other scarecrows turned their stitched faces towards him, their grins growing wider, more sinister. "No," Ethan gasped, struggling, but the scarecrows held him tighter. The gaunt figure reached out, his cold, rough hand pressing against Ethan's forehead. His vision began to blur as whispers filled his mind, stories of curse, of old Tom's restless spirit bound to claim souls to keep his field alive. The last thing Ethan saw was his own reflection in the dull buttons of the scarecrow's eyes as he felt his skin stiffen, his body becoming hollow, light like dried straw. The next morning, the townspeople found all of the scarecrows gone from the square as usual. But when Ethan's family noticed he was missing, a search was organized. They scoured the square and nearby fields but found no sign of him. The following Halloween, the townspeople set up their scarecrows again, uneasy and grieving. And as dawn approached, when they went to check the square, they saw a new scarecrow among the others. It wore Ethan's clothes and had his face, his button eyes cold and empty, its mouth stitched in a twisted smile. And every Halloween after that, the scarecrow with Ethan's face returned to the square, waiting in silent terror for the next child bold enough to challenge old Tom's ghostly harvest. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the last story of the night. So I want to go ahead and thank our guests here for the night. Robert White joining us from Australia. If you want to say something, try to unmute you, Robert.
I got it.
If you want to say something to the crowd as we walk out of the doors tonight.
Yes, have a very, very spooky Halloween. And just remember, everything in Australia wants to kill you. And we're a day ahead.
Funny.
We can foresee things.
I like that, Robert. How about you? What do you want to leave them with?
Okay, what I typically do is just say, stay safe out there. It's a wicked place. Stay safe.
Okay.
Stay safe.
It's a wicked place. That's creepy in itself. All right, guys. Thanks for coming in. We're going to do this again. The Spooktacular show coming up on Wednesday. I will see you guys then.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
All
like
right.
a plan.
Take care. All right, guys. This is it. This is it for the night. the Halloween Spooktacular right here at the late night call-in show, where normally we get into ETs, extraterrestrial, we get into that sort of talk, but I figure, you know what? Spooktacular season, spooky season only happens once a year. And I like Halloween. I get into it. I dress up. I like, putting on a costume. And maybe I'll have something set up for Halloween. Who knows? Last year, I had a little bit that I did on Spaced Out Radio from one of my favorite franchises. And maybe he'll be back this year. If you missed it, go back in the Spaced Out Radio archives last Halloween, and you'll see what we did. And maybe we'll add on to that. I think we will. So you guys stay tuned. Keep it spooky. And until next time, I'll see you later. Check me out tomorrow on Spaced Out Radio After Hours, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. over on the Spaced Out Radio channel. And then hit the like and subscribe on this channel and hit the notification bell, because we do some awesome stuff over here. Just so you know, the late night show is a free-for-all kind of place where we could just be us and have a great time. But we have other shows where we are delivering messages and having conversations that move the needle. So make sure you guys come back and see us next time. Have a great rest of your night, guys. You guys all take care.